So the Imperial-class Star Destroyer was an imposing force deployed by the Imperial Navy. To counter it, the New Republic would have to bring some serious firepower to the battlefield. That firepower came in the form of the Starhawk-Class Battleship. Today we'll take a look at the Starhawk's history, its design, and how it was utilized by the New Republic. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. Made out of parts of decommissioned Imperial Star Destroyers, they posed a significant threat to Imperial capital ships. Looking at the Starhawk's design, we can actually see some elements of the Star Destroyer in there. From the sloped armor to the shield globes that would normally be on top of the bridge of the Star Destroyer. At slightly larger than an Imperial-class Star Destroyer, the Starhawk was an imposing sight on the battlefield. Due to their size and imposing appearance on the battlefield, they made great flagships and great centerpieces to large New Republic fleets. When it comes to weaponry, they're about as well armed as an ISD, carrying a wide array of turbolasers. But unlike the Imperial-class Star Destroyer, they do have a sophisticated point defense network. But both of those pale in comparison to the primary weapon on board a Starhawk, its massive set of tractor beams. At the front of the Starhawk is a cluster of very powerful tractor beams that we see capable of doing some rather incredible things. And I'll get to what it does later, because that plays an important part in its role at the end of the Galactic Civil War. There were actually two variants of the Starhawk built, the Starhawk Mark I and the Starhawk Mark II. We're still not certain on the differences between them, but we do know that there were two variants. We know that the first Starhawk built was named the Concorde. The Concorde took part in the liberation of Akiva just a few months after the Battle of Endor. The only shipyard that we know for sure was building Starhawks was the Nadiri dockyards in the Bormia sector. There, captured Imperial-class Star Destroyers would be broken down for components to build the new vessels. We know that sometime about 6 months after the Battle of Endor, it fell under attack by Imperial forces. This attack was led by Titan Squadron, who we will play as in the upcoming game Star Wars Squadrons. It's assumed, however, that the shipyard does continue producing Starhawks. And by the time of the Battle of Jakku, they were a fairly common flagship within the New Republic Navy. The Concorde would later take part in one of the most significant battles that the Starhawk would ever fight, the Battle of Jakku. We know that there were 3 Starhawks at the Battle of Jakku: the Concorde, the Amity, and the Unity. Imperial forces had set up a blockade to attempt to prevent New Republic forces from landing on the planet. The centerpiece of that blockade was the Executor-class Super Star Destroyer, the Ravager. The Ravager was surrounded by a bubble of Imperial-class Star Destroyers that made it nearly impossible for the New Republic to dislodge the Dreadnought. But luckily, a mistake made by one of the Imperial-class Star Destroyers allowed an opening for the Concorde to slip through and grapple the Ravager with its mighty tractor beam. It was then able to slowly drag the Dreadnought down into the atmosphere of Jakku, ultimately destroying the Executor-class Star Destroyer. This would break the Imperial blockade over the planet and allow the final battle of the war to really truly commence. The only other place where Starhawks are mentioned is near the end of the Resurrection DLC for the Battlefront 2 campaign. Leia mentions that she hopes that Inferno Squad will return with a fleet of Starhawks. Now, I think it's a pretty safe bet that they don't, because we don't see Starhawks anywhere in the sequel trilogy, but it is noteworthy that at least Leia expects a few of them to still be around. I would like to mention one thing about the Starhawk that does kinda bug me. I understand why Disney decided to design a new capital ship for the New Republic that was different from the Imperial-class Star Destroyer, but from a practical standpoint, a government like the New Republic would have probably been better off simply using the Imperial-class Star Destroyers rather than tearing them down. While the tractor beams of the Starhawk did come in handy during the Battle of Jakku, the same effect could have been achieved with a large fleet of commandeered Imperial-class Star Destroyers, something that by the time of that battle the New Republic would have had in relative abundance. Once again, I understand the idea of wanting to have 2 visually distinctive ships for the good guys and the bad guys, but just from a logical standpoint, it would make sense for them to be using a significant number of captured Star Destroyers. But hopefully we'll learn more about the Starhawk soon when Star Wars Squadrons comes out, since it will play a significant role in that game's campaign. If you want to learn more about some of the ships you'll be able to take into combat in Star Wars Squadrons, I'll leave a link up here to my playlist on Starfighter lore. There I have a whole bunch of videos on the history and design of a whole bunch of the fighters you'll be able to fly in the game. And I want you to let me know down in the comments whether you think the Starhawk was a good idea. Do you think it was smart for the New Republic to tear down the Star Destroyers to build new ships? Or do you think it would have made more sense to continue using the Imperial-class Star Destroyers that they had captured? And lastly, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.